So, we're still at 720p for resolution on the recording, because my T430 doesn't seem to want to record at 1080p. I've just done 2 5-minute takes, so blah 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 blah. Just bear it in mind. This is the setup as it stands. So we've got that monitor this monitor attached to the eGPU, the 8GB XFX RX 480, which is down here in Project Morpheus, a little box hollowed out of a Lenovo ThinkCentre M58P that wasn't working, which is the perfect case for it, with an HDMI extension cable running all the way up to the expresscard port over here. We've got the main screen there where I should be watching the games and recording them up on this. This is my OBS monitor, gaming monitor, and then over here we've got this lovely and matching LG. Oh, so stylish! Matching monitors, eh? Matching LG TV that is running off the Intel HD graphics, coming off the dock, which is attached to this 250 gig, this 250 gig external hard drive enclosure where I'm installing all my games on. And it's actually quite a nice little setup. I really like it. It's a bit messy around it because I'm just in studio mode, but look at all that screen real estate all running off a laptop. Delightful. One extra display that you can normally get out of the laptop as well, because the Intel HD graphics only just 2. And what else can I tell you whilst I'm attempting this third take of this recording? Unprofessional, I know. For shame, Tech Dave. And yeah, so the next thing to do is install all the games, which you won't see and will be no time at all, on the external hard drive. I've got one of them on the SSD, one of them on the internal hard drive, and one on the SSD. One on the internal hard drive in the Ultra Bay, and then 3 on the docking station out to the external hard drive. And we're going to benchmark the same 4 games again. Then we're going to move on to, let's just check my notes over here, vaguely professional. Then we're going to move on to Unigine Heaven, Passmark, Firestrike, Cinebench, and then we're going to do some video editing, which I'll probably capture on my phone, so I'm not putting too much workload on the laptop. And then after that, I'm going to do a price rundown, which will be featured in more detail. In fact, no, we won't do that. Check out up and coming. It won't be in the cards, but one of my following videos after this will be a full review of the T430 with pricing. Some of these benchmarks will feature in that, and it'll describe. It's basically a full in-depth review coming up on the channel. It'll probably be the next or the one after video, about whether you should use the T430 as your main daily driver, or just in general whether you should buy one in 2021, which, hint hint, I'm probably going to say yes because it's badass, but look out for that video. It'll be coming next. And yeah, just like a conclusion about the eGPU performance. This video today is primarily about it with the eGPU. It's like the ultimate setup, and I just want to say before we go further into more benchmarking, I honestly think this is like the best 3rd gen ThinkPad eGPU setup you could have. The graphics card is so nicely matched in terms of performance to this CPU. Whilst you are getting only two, what do they call it? You're only getting 2 lanes. You're only getting 2 lanes of PCI bandwidth. It's still pretty much the best one you're going to get for this setup, and like cost effectiveness wise. So I know there's just total PC hardware crisis at the moment, but I got when that eventually is resolved, I got my RX 480 second hand, had to repaste it, which massively improved its performance, but I got it for like £100 and something, like 120 quid. So when the price drop eventually comes, like, it's a worthwhile investment. I'm going to stop there because this video hopefully has actually worked, because the last 2 didn't. So I'll be right back to show you a few little pointers, and then we'll move on into the benchmarks. This just in. Tech Dave, someone who proclaims to be competent with using computers, started the download of the aforementioned games to be benchmarked at approximately 4:35 PM. It is now 8:01 on the 5th of November. Boom. Bang. Bang. Wallop. Bang. Excuse me. Remember the 5th of November. Proof that the British hate their government, and always have. Bang. At this moment in time, it finally dawns on him he's been using a 10100 Ethernet port on a switch rather than directly connected to the router with a gigabit connection. Infuriation ensued. However, that does mean the download is going to be done much quicker, so that's marvellous. So after 3.5 hours of waiting for very reasonably, well, like 180 gigs worth of downloads that I've been doing at 10100, finally progress is starting to be made. Oh my god, I've reached my final form. Right, so we've got Lenovo X230 hooked up to HD60, recording from the eGPU there, connected to the T430, and then we got sound coming in for the screen capture from this mixer, which is piping in, where is it? This mixer, which is piping in my voice to the recording, which I'm going to video edit on this to record on that, to put in a video that I'm making on this, about this. And I've got 3 screens set up, and then the X1 Carbon over here is piping in lounge jazz for while, oh, you can hear that, piping in the lounge jazz to the mixer. I'm using every single machine except my desktop, which is, there's Genzo. I'm using every machine, every ThinkPad I own, all in one combined setup for maximum final form Tech Dave power. See you later on in the video. Tech Wifey. She's just fixing one of my old eGPUs so that I can have a dual eGPU setup, because I've got one attached to the T430 with the 8 gig, but I want a 2 gig one attached to there so I can film the process of recording the gaming benchmarks for later in the video. So currently, there's the X230. This cable trails along into a 750 Ti power supply eGPU dock, because my missus thankfully soldered the dock again, so my old one works. Then down that cable along here up into this monitor running OBS, which as you can see is ready to record the footage from this main screen, which is coming out of the XFX RX 480 attached via eGPU dock expresscard to the T430. So yeah, and then I've got a sound card going into the X230 as well, so that you can capture with that microphone there. So I'm about to film some video editing for the video. So yeah, let's see how the T430 performs, where I'm actually editing the video you're watching to and I'm filming, yeah, you'll see. Be right back. Hello there, Tech Dave. A day later, after all the games installed, after I finally figured out that bloody thing. So we're on my first game comparison, basically. So, Warhammer Vermintide 2, we got 49 frames per second on high, DirectX 11, display 1, 1080p, full screen, vertical sync off. So I'm going to run the benchmark again. I just briefly benchmarked it off camera on medium, which we got 63 frames per second, which somehow was, I believe, slightly better. You'll have to track back through the video, I can't remember. But I'm obviously going to just fade this in and out. But I'm just going to run the benchmark on Warhammer on the same settings we did on the desktop. We got 49 frames per second. What else can I show you? We've also fixed my old eGPU. So over there in the background is my X230 hooked up to the 750 Ti via an eGPU with an external power supply, running on that computer there, over there, to record. So we should have slightly better recording quality than we did in my ASMR video, which either will or won't feature as part of this. But I uploaded it, so check the cards for the ASMR video. Just gonna mute the music. There we go. Assume the capture card's not recording the music, so there we go. But yeah, we got 49 frames per second, so we're looking for some sort of around that level on high settings. And I'll probably fade in, fade out. Somehow we've got so we had 49 frames per second before, and we got 53 frames per second on the eGPU. So while the graphics card may be bottlenecked, there's obviously some sort of performance increase. Could be attributed to the CPU not being throttled. Actually, we didn't have it on full performance mode, but let's just have a quick look at Task Manager. Hold on. So this thing was, the other CPU was limited, so that might explain a little bit. Down to 80% capacity, because that might have impacted the turbo boost, but it still shows that it's almost equivalent performance, so that's magnificent. So here we are on the laptop with the T430 in Doom, and we're just going to show you the settings just so you can see they're the same. So full screen 16:9, vertical sync off, obviously. 1x anti-aliasing, etc. It's all the same. And then we switched over to Vulkan, 100% resolution scale, a variety of different settings that are all about what they were on the other machine. And I'm on You Too Young to Die, how embarrassing. And then we're going to see how it performs. You can see in the top left we've got a Steam frame counter. We're going to see how this performs. Continue. Oh yeah, that's looking good. You can see the frame count. Oh yeah, runs to play. It's exactly the same as the desktop, like the feel and everything. Let's do some of these Punisher kills. Watch the frame rate drop. So we're getting about 40 frames per second. Oh yeah, I love this game. I haven't spent enough time with it really. Oh, murderous. Oh, finish him. So we're hovering around the 40 sort of frames per second. What's this? It's slightly more glitchy. I'll have to compare the footage. Let's just do the thing. What do I press? Doesn't do anything. But yeah, so anything from 30 to 45 seems to be the performance we're getting here. I'm trapped in this hallway forever now, with some corpses hanging from the ceiling. How delightful. So that's the performance we're getting from Doom with almost identical settings. So let's just compare some footage. Let's see. We were getting in game no frame counter, so I have no idea really. But I mean, this was recorded in bad resolution because of how I had to record it, and what you're seeing is probably equivalent resolution, but it felt the same. The frame counter didn't work with Vulkan on, because originally we were getting, where is it? We're getting in the 40s to 30s anyway with OpenGL, so it's basically identical performance, I would say. So that's good. I'll be back with the next game. So now we are in Elite Dangerous. Now it's automatically put us on Ultra, so I'm going to switch that down to high to make sure it's fair. Put this up to 1080p like we had before. Frame rate limit off, refresh rate 60 Hz, vertical sync off. Apply. Let's see if it crashes out. Might need to do some shader detection again. There we go. So we're going to see now what sort of performance we get with the exact same settings we had on the previous system on the desktop. I'm predicting good things. I don't know how equivalent it will actually be. Let's do a little flyby of that planet again. And the inevitable loading screens. It is quite. So this is Elite Dangerous Oddysee, so it's the new DLC, which I know didn't receive particularly good reviews. Sorry, I've got a bit of toothpaste in my moustache. But I think in time it's going to be excellent. But it's just a shame because of what they've done to their player base. A lot of people get real unhappy about it. And I'll probably fade out and then fade back in. Oh no, there we go. And we're looking, so we've got solid 30 frames per second, so ultra at 720p. Where's that planet gone? Where's my planet? There it is. Oh, we're on the dark side now, because it moves in real time. Let's fly to the other side of the planet, so we can see if it looks the same. As you can see in the top left, we're getting 30 frames per second, which probably isn't as good. A little boost. It's going to take a long time. We've just got a black orb because time has moved on in the universe of. Oh, a little drop under 30 FPS there. I mean, it looks just as good. I'm not really seeing any stutters. I'm not used to driving with a mouse. I see why people do it, but I use I think I mentioned earlier, T-Flight HOTAS, like hands on throttle and stick. How would I power up? No. So we're getting a pretty solid 30 frames per second, but we just got a black orb, so we can't see visual fidelity comparison. But the sky looks nice, and actually, yeah, no, this is not performing as well as it did before. So this is the first one where we're seeing a noticeable depreciation in quality of the game. Okay. Well, it is a recent title, so, and it's not notorious for being optimized for a variety of systems. So when you look up to space, you see it drops. Oh, not necessarily. But yeah, let's just make sure we've got the settings all the same. So high settings, 1080p, vertical sync off, no frame rate lock, 60 Hz. So yeah, that's the first one where we've seen a noticeable difference. And I can't say it was significant in terms of how it felt, but I think on the frame rate we may have seen a little bit of worse performance. I refer you to the earlier sections in the video. And yeah, so I'll be back with the final game, which is Apex Legends. Right, so here we are in Apex Legends. Let's just mute that. We've basically, by the looks of it, got exactly the same settings. I'll just turn off VSync. It's more or less exactly the same. Apply, and then gameplay, we want performance metrics on. Where was that? Performance display, just so we've got a balance across both. And then we're going to go to the firing range. Now you've obviously got the Steam frame counter up there. We were getting in the mid 80s on this. This is such a well optimized game as well. It's really nice. You can play it on most systems, but we got identical stats to have specs. What am I talking about? Identical settings I made sure, because I went and watched the video back. I mean, if I made any mistakes, feel free to correct me. But we were getting into the 80s out here. I expect this to not perform quite as well. Let's do a power slide. So it doesn't look quite as good. Actually, it doesn't look quite as bad. It looks about the same, really. Let's shoot some shit. Let's shoot this guy in the face. Face, 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 face. Face, face, face. Reload. And I hope you're watching the frame time. Ah. Well, yeah, so we're in the similar sort of range. Like, so Steam is obviously reporting, you can't see it, but underneath my face we're getting around the 80s mark in my ultimate is ready. F1. See, I remember how to do that. Q. Aha. Control. Oh my god, he does stuff now. He didn't do that before. Holy crap. Oh, I need to play Apex again. So it's reporting in its own metrics the same sort of frame rate, but we're looking at around 60 frames per second for most of it. But it's I mean, it's still very playable at 60 frames per second, this game. And sometimes it does spiral above. Let's just see. Let's just run up here a little bit. Go into the broader map, see if it drops down. Back in the 70s now. 60s and 70s. So there is a little bit of a drop. I don't know exactly. Let's just check settings and make sure there's nothing I've missed. No, it's all like it was. And it's targeting 60 frames per second. And in fact, we had adaptive super sampling on, didn't we? So let's just try again. I'm going to some bigger parts of the map. Now it's dropped down into the 40s. But we were over here before, so let's just make that a fair comparison. I think I turned on adaptive super sampling. Let's get a new weapon. Shoot some shit. Boom, boom, boom. Ah, no ammo straight away. I love this game. All the free shit. Reload. No ammo. But yeah, so about 20 frames per second less in Apex Legends with almost identical settings. So it's not too bad. Not too bad. So the last two games, Elite Dangerous and Apex Legends, much more recent titles, with the exception of Warhammer, which runs really fluidly and nicely. But the latter two, we're seeing some significant decrease by about, let's say, I don't know, 60 down to 80 and 40 down to 30. So it's like 10-20%. I can't work that out exactly, but I'm seeing some depreciation now through the bottlenecking of the eGPU. But that is to be expected. That is what you would expect to happen when you're only running 2 PCI lanes instead of like 8 or 16. Or is it 4? I forget how it translates, but you get the idea. We're seeing some depreciation, but in terms of the experience of playing, there's barely any noticeable difference to the actual experience. But obviously if you're playing like high refresh rate esport titles, you're gonna notice it. So I'll be back. Here we are on the desktop. We have done the basic gaming benchmarks and compared a little bit. So first we're going to run Heaven benchmark. Agree. DirectX. Let's try high. Multi-monitor disabled. Anti-aliasing. No, let's just resolution 1080p. Let's run that, and I might speed it up just so you can see. Actually, hold on. I need to cancel that because I want fraps on. for reference. You probably don't need fraps on with this, I imagine it's got its own. There we go. But just so it's there. Heaven benchmark, my friends. Heaven benchmark. We should in theory be able to do a DirectX 12 as well. So we've got run benchmarking. You can see in the bottom right corner we've got the frame times, minimum FPS, max FPS, what scene we're on, FPS about 65 frames per second on high, on DirectX 11. There we go, so we've got a score of nearly 2000, max FPS 152, minimum 9 unfortunately, FPS average is 76.2, we recognise it as a 4GB graphics card but it is most certainly not. Yeah, I'll just save that quickly to documents and then we can compare without that. Okay, so that is Unigine Heaven benchmark. Okay. Tests, run all tests. Let's actually just wait and see what it says. The CPU is at 70. Okay. Run all tests. And I'll fade back in when these tests are complete. So we're into the orange. We're into the orange. So world maximum is at 11,000. We're on 25,000. Not bad for a 12-year-old laptop, and quite an old GPU as well. So let's just show you. This is global, but yeah, I mean. 2,514 is the Passmark rating, so given the amount of new hardware there is out there, it's still not too bad. This read and write speed's not great. Well, that's not good. Memory, really good. That's the HyperX. I think the DirectX 12 and the not having 4K had a factor there. 2D graphics, not amazing. CPU. Yes, no real way of knowing if that's good or bad, really. But the 36th percentile, given the amount of new hardware, it's nice. It's nicely into that orange, mid 50% of all scores. That's not too bad. So, what next? We just have Cinebench, and then. That's about it. I need to go over the pricing and a bit of a conclusion and talk about some future upgrades, but then after that we're completely done. So see you in Cinebench. So yeah, as you can see, we just run Cinebench R20 at 1,238 points on the CPU. I didn't realise there wasn't a GPU. One built into this, but it shows you the CPU as an advanced benchmark. No, it's just got single core. Okay, so I'm going to try and find. I'm going to get R15 probably. And just to show you the R15 results, we got 90.92 frames per second on OpenGL. So 98% reference match. It was the highest scoring one of the reference ones. I just wanted to include the GPU score, and that is mostly everything I wanted to do for this video. I might try running Firestrike, although I think my computer needs a rest, as do I. So I'll switch back to another camera, do a bit of a conclusion, and then we will be away with the end of the video. Please. Hello. Later in the video I'm going to refer back to this section talking about pricing. Now, the issue with that is that all these components vastly, wildly vary, and I've already got like well in excess of an hour's worth of footage to whittle down to at least half that, maybe 40 minutes. So ideally I'm not going to include that, but there will be a following video specifically about the T430, which will feature a pricing guide for the upgrades to the machine and the XP stock, and that will feature in a following video, so look out for that. Shortly after this section you're going to see me refer back to this section that should have had the pricing guide, but it didn't. So yeah, on with the conclusion. So we are back on the decent quality recording-ish with the T430 now. As you can see from, if I just show you this, I have all this footage to render, edit, combine. We got like 1, 2, 4, 12, just like a full good hour's worth of stuff that I need to whittle down into something watchable and entertaining. What sort of conclusion can I reach here? Let's just have a think about that. As I've probably said before, this is a beast of a machine, a beast of a setup. It's comparable to a desktop, but if you were going out to buy a machine specifically with these kind of specs at this kind of money, you would want a desktop ideally, unless you like this workflow and the portability of it, which is what really sells it to me. So in my case, I bought the laptop for £100, and the majority of the hardware I just filtered in bit by bit by bit by bit by bit when I could afford it. So we'll do pricing in a minute. I'll see if I can show you a rough price average in another section. You may even see that before this, so that one, but this is now explaining that you saw that before this. But yeah, final conclusion: if you've got a T430 or you can afford one, and you're in a situation with me where you can't just drop like £700 or like even £500, it depends on the GPU you get really, but like if you can't just drop a whole bunch of money in one go, it's a really nice little upgrade path where you can just incrementally purchase each bit until you've got like a hench machine. And I look out, there'll be another video which is basically a full review of why you should buy this laptop in 2021. That's not so benchmark oriented, not so long-winded, more theatrical, more entertaining, and that'll be pretty much just an advert for the benefits of this setup. But yeah, like it's a beast. Like doesn't perform quite as well as a desktop because of the bottlenecking through the XP stock, but perhaps in future videos we may look into different eGPU docks, because I've got a few in mind that I found on the internet that I'm going to try out. So my general conclusion with this is like, it's pretty sweet. Like if it suits your workflow, if you want one device and you want an older device and you want a powerful device, and you need to buy in increments, you know, you can just buy things bit by bit by bit, and then you've got this absolute monstrous machine that works as both a portable laptop with 8 hours battery life and God knows how much power for a system that is, well, you'll see probably early in the video as well, but for a system of its age, it's an absolute monster. And I can genuinely recommend it. I can highly recommend it, with the caveat of, like, don't expect it to be a direct desktop replacement. It's close, but it's not going to perform exactly, especially with the graphics card, it's not going to perform exactly as a desktop would, but it's so close that it's exquisite, and I love it. So I've been Tech Dave. This has been the ultimate T430 eGPU setup in 2021. Please like, subscribe, share the video with anyone that might like it. And just as a quick teaser, I'm working really digging in here at the moment with videos. So other video ideas that I have include the X220 eGPU with the 2 gig 750 Ti as a budget setup. We got the aforementioned full why should you buy T430, basically advert for that. We're going to look at overclocking this T430 because I've downclocked it repeatedly, and that's features in other videos. Look for playlists on my channel of the T430 saga. There's one that I might not be able to do because I don't know if I'm getting that. We're going to compare the X230 to the X230 tablet with eGPU. If I can get it to work, we're going to compare the performance between the MPCIe and expresscard interfaces with the EXP stock. And then a personal couple of favourite ones of mine. A lot of people that use ThinkPads have like kind of different needs, let's say, and I have got a Quadro K5200 8GB card, so I'm going to look at maybe some CAD, maybe some Blender, but basically adding a Quadro workstation graphics to this kind of a setup. And these are all plans. I can't guarantee every one of these videos is going to come out, but I aim to make most of them. There's 8 other videos that I've got planned and in the works, so I'm sort of just teasing them. And then emulation with an eGPU and without, possibly using the Launchbox, because I've got a vast collection of old games that I would really love to see how they perform. So yeah, I've been Tech Dave. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and hit the little bell icon as well, because then I don't release that many videos. It's going to be one a week moving forward for a short period of time, but realistically you're not going to know that my content's out unless you hit that bell, so please press it. I'd be much obliged. Thank you for watching. Peace.